Oh. Hey guys, thanks for joining tonight's Periscope. Last Chance Tackle, Last Chance Bait and Tackle here in Hemet, California. Sorry this one's a little late. It was kind of jumbled together at the last minute. Tonight I'd kind of like to talk to you about flukes, different varieties of flukes, and certain ways you can rig them for the conditions you're at, and how to fluke for bass. Pretty much tons of varieties of flukes out there on the market. Everybody's got their own variation and their own sizes of flukes and stuff like that. Zoom is one of the best when it comes to flukes, just for sizes and colors. They offer wide varieties from super flukes, super fluke juniors, super flukes, magnum flukes, all different sizes, different types, everything to match the hatch that you're at. Kitech makes some. Yamamoto makes some that are salted, so they're going to sink a little bit faster than your average Zooms. Kevin Van Dam's got Caffeine Shad for the Strike Kings, another great one, salted the same, so it's going to sink a little bit faster than the Zooms. Fins, Lunker Cities, Jackals, Skippy Fish, another different style of a fluke with more of a realistic tail, a little something different. Guys like that. So like I said, there's tons of different baits on the market, tons of different varieties, sizes, and colors. Like I always preach, match the hatch. Right now, baby bass bluegill could be shad in your area, so you stick with that 4-inch, nothing bigger. Keep it small. When I'm going that route, I'll grab a Zoom Super Fluke Junior and baby bass. This guy right here, absolutely awesome. One of the best soft jerk baits as far as a baby bass imitator that I've personally found. These guys fish them just like you would a hard jerk bait, but the way you rig them is going to be weedless. So you can throw these guys where you throw a spinner bait or a buzz bait, up in the trees, up in the grass, up in that thick stuff. Work the surface. Cool thing with these is because there's so many different ways you can rig them, you can use different style hooks, different style weights, different style heads to get to any part of the water column that you want. With the super flukes, about this size, average about 4-inch size, I like to use a 4/0 offset shank hook. Something like the decoys. These have a little bit longer necks. These are called the digging hooks. They have a little bit longer neck on the nose of this bait, just because when you are coming in and out of cover and stuff like that, a lot of these times when you Texas rig these baits, if you have your hook up here, you hit something, it rips out, it ruins your bait. By having this longer shank right here on the nose, it resets and gives you more meat in this bait now. You're not blowing out that bait near as much. Distance between point and back of the hook are still the same. You just get this more meat in the nose now. When you rig a fluke, you do a basic weightless Texas rig. Granted, you can put a bullet weight, you can do all kinds of stuff with them. Me personally, I like a weightless Texas rig. Majority of these flukes are going to have lips being the belly, flat back being the top. That's how you're going to rig them. So what I like to do is, just like you'd rig a Senko, just like you'd rig a Texas worm, something like that, you go in through the nose, and I like going in through the nose till I hit the back of the bend of that hook. Once I hit the back of the bend of that hook, I direct 90 right out his chin. That's where this guy comes into play now. Slide this all the way in. Once he's like this, I take this bait and I corkscrew it, or the hook I should say. That gets it so it doesn't slide up and down. Now, because you have all that meat in there, you can run into a couple sticks, you can run into a couple trees, and it's not going to blow out that bait. Figure out where the back of that hook goes, run it in your bait. These are soft plastic baits, so make it do what you want. Bend that guy right in half, go right through his belly, right out his back. Kind of looks like they're a noose hole, I should say. Keep it in just like that. That right there is your fluke rig, okay? This is great for that surface to about 1 foot, 2 feet down, depending on how slow you want to fish it. Now, there's different styles and different weights that you can add or not add to these baits to get them to sink out. You can very well use an offset shank hook that's weighted. You got suspended fish in 10 to 15 feet. Put a weighted hook on there. Throw it out there, count it down, and slowly start rip twitching it. Just like you would a hard jerk bait, but now it's going to be silent. It's going to give you that true reaction bite coming now, because they can't hear this bait, they can only see it, and they can only sense it as it moves. So it gives them a true reaction strike. Another cool thing, and I'll show you with this, a lot of these guys are throwing these baits and all this type of stuff. A lot of people are starting to put them on underspins. They're starting to use all that type of stuff. Little bladed belly hooks and whatnot. Cool thing we have here in the shop is called the Mike's S Underspin Maker. These guys right here, absolutely awesome. When you want to take a fluke and you don't want to add weight of a jig hook or anything like that, but you still want that underspin, what you do is just like a screw lock that you put on for dummy baits, stuff like that. Just like a beast hook, but now it's got a little blade on it. This guy right here, little screw lock for the nose, but you have that little blade with a little willow blade, little swivel and everything else set up. So what you're going to do is you rig them just like you would a regular beast hook bait. You take this guy and you screw it right into his nose. You find that bite, you take this bait and you corkscrew it all the way down in his nose. So you take this and you turn it and you turn it and you turn it. You get that bite in there. And what I do is I go all the way to the tip of it so that blade hangs straight down. Okay? There's the tip of it. You rig your hook just like you normally would. Because it's a hole right in the center of it, it gives you a little guide. You take your hook, you go right in the center of this guy. You pass the little ribs or the little spring, you pop that guy right out. Rig this hook all the way up through. It comes through just like that. So you still get the offset shank, you still get that whole weedless effect that you want. Hook that hook right in the back like you normally would. Pop that guy forward, move it just like this. Now you have an underspin fluke. This is something now in stained water, not only are you getting the reaction strike by this guy darting and diving, but now you have a weightless presentation to get you an underspin. This is something really cool that not too many people are messing with, not too many people even know that we have them. Look up the Mike's Underspin Maker. This little guy is absolutely key. Super quick and easy. You can change the willow blades from you want. From what I've been told and what I've been finding, the more stained the water is, a lot of guys like to go with the gold blades. They say it puts off a better flash. The clearer the water is, they'll go with a nickel blade or a black nickel blade, something like that. You just want that subtle flash. You want something not overwhelming the bait, but just enough to get those fish's attention when they can't physically see the bait. Cool little thing like that. Rig it, fish it single by itself just like this, or you can do a rig, what's called a donkey rig. This is my absolute favorite way to fish a fluke, is a donkey rig. Me personally, I'll never fish a fluke by itself. I'll always throw a donkey rig if I'm going to throw a fluke. And what I mean by donkey rig means you are throwing two flukes at once. It's a tandem rig. These guys sit there, dart, dive, and do all kinds of absolutely awesome stuff together. I wish I had a video of it, but what I can do is show you how to rig the setup. And when you do rig this setup, these baits are going to be staggered like this. As you go out there and throw your normal fluke, you reel it in, pop, pop, reel it in, pop, pop, get to twitch. You see that one fluke, he'll come to the surface, he'll dive down. Now by doing a donkey rig, you're going to have two flukes. So when you go out there, rip, twitch them, they're going to come together. One's going to go high, one's going to go low. They're going to dart off, but they're always going to come back. So it looks like two little bait fish out there playing around. Cool concept behind that rig, just like an umbrella rig or anything else. We start getting into schooling fish. You throw out, you hook up a fish. You start bringing this wolf pack with them. There's 3, 4, 5 fish with it. They're trying to pull that bait out of his mouth. Cool thing about doing the donkey rig now is the initial fish has got this first bait. Well, you still have 15 inches of leader with another fluke flaring all around. As you're fighting this fish, that other fluke is dancing all around. These fish come up and try to eat it, they're going to come up and eat that other fluke that's dancing around. Double hookups are a lot better with a double donkey rig like this, at least in my opinion, than on an umbrella rig. I always have better hookup ratios with a donkey rig than I do an umbrella rig. And because, plus it's weightless, like I said, you can fish it in areas where a spinnerbait, a buzz bait, something like that, something where you can't get your average umbrella rig, but you still want that small bait fish profile or multiple baits. And like I said, I'm going to show you how to rig this donkey rig.
To slow you down just a second, Anthony, you've went over standard fluke, you've went over the underspin fluke. What would an angler use as far as equipment to throw something like this? Does he have to have anything special, or can he get away with a standard 10-pound test outfit?
You can get away with a standard 10-pound outfit, but you just got to remember yourself, where are you going to be throwing this? Of course, if you're throwing this in heavy cover, that type of stuff, you might want to use a stouter stick. You might want to go braid leader. That is my favorite situation for it. I'll go 30-pound braid to 14-pound fluorocarbon or 16-pound fluorocarbon. Just because where I'm going to be putting these, it is going to be somewhat structured. They are having a chance to bulldog you into cover. So you can go out there with the regular cranking stick, 735, something like that by Dobbins, something absolutely perfect. But, like I said, if you get in thicker cover, you might want to use a stiffer hook. You're not worrying about treble hooks. You're not worrying about anything like that. We're using single hooks, so you can use somewhat of a stout rod. You just don't want anything too stout to where when you impart that action, your rod is like a broomstick and it's not doing anything to the baits.
Perfect.
So just go out there with your perfect setups, with your normal stuff. Go out there and just try to find the cover that's suited to what you have.
Perfect.
So with this single underspin rig, I will show you the donkey rig now, which is my favorite. It sounds a little funny. You tell customers that and they think you're kind of BSing them, giving them an off-the-wall name. But the donkey rig, try to remember this setup. This is going to be extremely fun for you guys out on the water. Visual fishing this way is a blast. It is a blast. You're going to spend more time sitting out there twitching these baits, sitting there watching this stuff, being oohs and ahs. Next thing you know, there's going to be a big old white mouth come up and swallow it. Wham! Mm-hmm. So cool. So cool. And what I do is, the whole concept is a double rig. Like I was saying earlier, I like braid to leader. So I'm going to be fishing a 30-pound braid. Granted, this is 65, just so you guys can see it. It is pretty heavy like rope.
Here, hold on one second, Anthony. I'm just going to pan off real quick and grab you some white. 65. Yeah, we had an issue with this the last Periscope with dark color line.
There we go. All right. Hopefully this is a little bit better for you guys.
Yeah, that's looking good.
You see
Perfect.
this? Perfect.
Much better.
So what it is now, we're going to say this is the tip of your rod. This is your main line coming off your rod. Okay? The concept behind the donkey rig is running 2 flukes at one time. Bill Seamantel does this with his little 2.5 shads. Phenomenal rig for that. He goes out and smokes them on it. This is similar, just taking a soft plastic bait version of it now. What I'm going to do is, Owner makes really small wire swivels, really small and compact, that are extremely stout. These guys are size 6, 100-pound class. That's a 100-pound swivel. Insane for how small they're making them right now. Not necessarily saying, I mean, we're fishing bass. We don't need 100-pound swivels. It is kind of nice to know in the back of your head if you do get snagged, you can probably pull out that tree that you're snagged in. But for a 100-pound swivel being that big, saltwater guys are going to call BS on it and say it'll never work. These things are pretty darn stout. Now this donkey rig, what I'm going to do is, you have a sliding swivel on your rig. First thing you do is take your swivel and you go through the eye of your first swivel, just so that guy slides up and down your line. And I can get a bigger swivel if this is...
That's
you see
okay.
it?
I think I can get grasp the concept.
That way you can see it swinging up and down your line. Okay? Now what you do is you take your second swivel, and this is the one you're going to tie directly to the end of your braid. When it comes to braid, I like doing uni knots. It's something quick, easy, and really strong. And all you do, take your line, run it through your eye, and double it up. Just like that. What I like to do, overhand a little loop, and now you're going to take this line and you're going to braid it around itself. So you're going to take this guy and you're going to start looping inside of itself.
There you go.
I go 4 to 6 times. We're just going to go 4 times on this one. You loop through itself. You cinch down this knot, and what it does now acts like a noose. The tighter you pull down on this guy, the tighter it cinches down on this. Cut off your tag end. Granted, there we go. That is your donkey rig. You have 2 flukes, or you have 2 swivels now. And you can see they're somewhat offset. They're not exactly touching each other. That right there is the whole concept with the donkey rig, is having that sliding swivel. And what you're going to do is, usually guys like to stagger their baits. They like to have one bigger, one smaller, one somewhat heavier, one somewhat lighter. No matter what you do, the sliding leader is going to be your big bait or your longest leader. Just for the fact that when you go to cast this bait, you put your heavy bait on this end, this bait's lighter, you're going to cast that big bait, well, this one hangs back. So when it hits the water, your baits are going to be so far apart that as you start working it, it's going to take forever for them to come back. By you putting the heavier bait on that sliding one, what it does is on that cast, the heavy bait hits that swivel and sends both of them out now. So both of them are going to land in that right spot, that right area, so you can do your presentation just perfect. So what I'm doing from here like I was saying, your sliding swivel is going to be your longest leader. So what I do, 14-pound Vanish to 16-pound fluorocarbon, whatever fluorocarbon you guys are comfy with. I like the Vanish. It's cheap. It's strong. For this, you don't need anything really too specific, just because you are going to be moving them, ripping and twitching. Here's my leader line. What I'm going to do, just tie to your sliding swivel. Whatever knot you guys are comfy with. I do what's called a San Diego jam. So I'm just going to tie a little basic knot, nothing fancy here. Just a couple little loops. If I can get it in there. Well, I said basic, but it didn't seem basic now.
It's fine. They get the idea.
Just like that. Now what you're going to do, cut that guy off. There's your sliding leader. Okay? Right now, we're just going to tie this to that little fluke that I just did. And actually, we got a fish tank, so I might be able to throw this in the fish tank and show you guys real quick kind of what it does. Tie it to your fluke. Okay? So there is your sliding rig now. You can see how long that leader is. Not too long. I'd say about 15 inches at the most. Now this leader, when you go to tie it, you want this bait sitting a little bit above them. And we'll go same size, same hook and everything. When you tie this one now, you want this bait about an inch in front of it. Stagger them just a bit. So what I'm going to do, there again, tie off another chunk of line. Cut this guy a little bit shorter. There's both your lines. And as you can see it already, see how it naturally separates the two? It doesn't have anything to where those two are touching.
Do me a favor and grab your sliding swivel and lift it up. There you go.
See that right there? See how that rests on there now? Just like that. So that gets to split the rig. A lot of people I tell this to, they always say, well, does it tangle itself up? Does it do anything like that? This rig will naturally separate itself as you fish it. Granted, when you bring it in, you might have 6 or 7 wraps up here, but the rest of your rig is going to be separated. So what you do now, what I like to do is come right here, figure out where your line is, and I'll cut my line about an inch past where that bait goes. That way you're keeping this rig shorter. Tie on your hook. And with these flukes, 4/0 is about average size for super flukes, stuff like that. If you got bait fish that's extremely small, use a tiny fluke, Fluke Junior. Kitech makes some small ones. Jackal makes the clone fry. All kinds of good little baits. Just find something that's going to imitate what your fish are feeding on. Right now in the SoCal area, because we're coming out of the spawn and everything else, we have abundance of baby bass and bluegill. That's why I always go with baby bass or bluegill style baits. Go through the nose, rig them just like you normally would, come out his chin. Just because you have more of that meat in there now, you got to get a little bit deeper into that bait. Run this bait all the way up. Figure out where the back of the hook goes. These are soft plastic. Make the bait do what you want. Bend this guy, go right through his stomach, directly out his back. This right here is the donkey rig. Double flukes, tandem fishing. This fish gets hit. This one fish eats this bait. This bait is still flaring all around. While it's dancing, both these are looking like little bait fish. They're just out there playing and hanging out. Like I was saying, once you start fishing this rig, you start going out there, they start swimming, they start doing this thing. Like I can sit here and shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. It's still not tangling up. Like I was showing you earlier, you might get 3 or 4 wraps up here, but the whole initial bait is still separate. You can see I got a couple loops, but once you open it, it frees itself up pretty darn quick. So this guy right here, double swivels, sliding swivel on your longer setup. This guy right here, sliding swivel on your longer setup or your bigger bait setup. That dancing, flaring around, doing all kinds of awesomeness. This rig is key, especially when they're wolf packing and they're feeding hard on small stuff and they're wanting more of that reaction, but you can't throw a treble hook bait. Go with this guy. Remember the donkey rig. If you have any questions, by all means, give us a call here at the shop, 658-7410. It's a 951 number. Give us a call at the shop. You can talk to Matt or I. I'm sure he's rigged these up a couple times before. This is something that not too many people know about, but once you start fishing it, you're going to have an absolute blast. 30-pound braid. Granted, this is 65, so you guys can see it. 30-pound braid to 14 to 16-pound fluorocarbon, just for that abrasive resistance by where you're throwing it.
Hey, Justin, I'm not sure it'll be able to work as effective as we want it to in the tank. But one of these days I can rig one up for you. You can meet me on the Skeeter or whatever. We can run out to Diamond and throw the donkey rig around. We can try to put them in the tank, but because the leaders are pretty long, it's going to get kind of wacky in there and not really show the true potential.
Stuck to it.
Getting crazy over there, Anthony?
Stuck to it.
It's just like a fish.
And if you do want to see it, by all means, you can go on YouTube, look up the donkey rig. They're going to show you tons and tons of videos on how these guys swim. There's a...
Uh-oh, you got called out. Throw it in the tank, Anthony.
all right, here it goes. I'm going to show you guys now. I'm going to show you. Donkey rig.
Bam!
Tank. That side's closed. Check that out.
Okay, walk on this side right here. Hopefully we'll be able to do it.
That side's closed. There you go. He's sinking. Twitch. Twitch. They start ripping together. Two little bait fish.
Anything for you, Justin.
Two little bait fishes out there playing around. See how one goes high, one goes low, one's come up, the other ones meet each other? It's two little bait fish out there playing around.
Yeah,
Next
you guys,
thing you know-
you guys don't need to know about this technique.
No,
it's
not
one
at
of them
all.
things, you don't need to know about it.
Cover a bunch of water. It's a quick technique. You can let them sit to the bottom. Let them sit down. Oh. No, let them sit down to the bottom. Twitch, twitch. Let them sink back down to the bottom. Twitch, twitch. Let them sink back down to the bottom. This is a cool rig. Cool rig. You can go on the bottom. You can twitch it for these little guys. Get them to flare around, look like little dying fish. Or you can keep it up on the surface.
Bingo.
Just twitching like this. So they come up. They look like they're just breezing around, eating mosquitoes, doing whatever, jumping, having a fun time. Fish look vulnerable is an easy meal to a predator fish. That's the whole key behind this. Make them look like they're not caring that a big fish is underneath them. They're just out there doing their own thing, having fun, not caring in the world. Next thing you know, bam. Quick, easy
How was
rig.
that? What was that again, Anthony?
You heard it. That's it. You get that, bam.
That's what
Just
I'm
like
talking
that.
about. That's what I'm talking about.
Donkey rig. Sitting there twitching it, twitching it, twitching it.
Hold it up a little bit more. Kind of drop below the camera angle.
Got you all tangled up.
With the leader and stuff like that, and it's longer.
There you go. Donkey rig.
There we go.
Quick and easy. They're spinning together. As you cast them, they already start separating themselves. See that? It was all tangled up all the way down. As you start casting it, they separate themselves. That's the key thing behind this rig. They do look like they're going to tangle. Double hookups are phenomenal with this thing now. Lake Paris, put on some pearl whites. Imitate the shad. Canyon Lake, smoking shad. Something like that. Diamond Valley right now, same with Skinner. Baby bass. Match the hatch. A rig like this is going to be absolutely awesome. Glad the catfish didn't hit it.
That would have been
Knocked it out
awesome.
of his mouth.
No. We need to hook that thing one day. It'll happen. It'll happen.
Like I was saying earlier, there's so many companies out there, so many different styles. If you've got extremely clear water and these fish are really pressured and really finicky, go with something more natural. Go with a Jackal clone fry.
Someone
Something like
said,
that.
don't be giving my DVL secrets away.
Go with a clone fry. Something extremely transparent, but has that pearlescent. I love transparent bait in clear water just because it absorbs the clear water. To me, it looks a little bit more natural. So rig these guys. Clone fries, clear water. Nice little V-cut tail, super realistic pattern. Skippy fish, like I showed you earlier, works just as good too. If you want it to sink down a little bit more, weighted hooks. If you don't want to use the weighted hooks and you still want it to sink down, cool thing with the flukes is because they are a soft plastic bait, you can add nail weights to these guys. Pop a nail weight in his belly. Pop a nail weight in his chin. Get this guy to sink down a little bit more. Rub the bottom with it. Especially if you have grass, let this guy drop down into the grass. Let it drop down into the grass. Rip it out of the grass. It's going to sit there and suspend for a second, and then it's going to come back down. Come out of the grass, suspend for a second, and come back down. Reaction bite. For your buddies out there throwing rattle traps and stuff, put a little bladed bait like this on there. Try ripping it through the grass. Try ripping it around cover. Flukes are absolutely phenomenal for this time of year, especially when you have all grass, we have bait fish, and they are chasing. You don't necessarily have to throw these guys in the cover. You can be on a full swing shad bite out in open water, 60 feet, crushing them on the surface. It all depends on how your leg's fishing and what they're eating right now. Us, local-wise, here in the SoCal area, this is going to be money. Remember this rig. Donkey rig, super flukes, 4/0 hooks, double swivel, braid to leader, single flukes, even if you wanted it, still braid to leader. Fish these guys like you normally would a hard jerk bait. Go out there, reel it in, rip, twitch, reel it in, rip, twitch. Cool thing with these is because they're more buoyant, you can actually physically see what it's doing in the water. Start coming up with your own concoctions. Maybe do a couple rips, a couple twitches. Do what makes you feel comfy, and then watch these baits. Figure out what it takes to get these things to dance. Once you get these things to dance, you're going to be spending more time watching these. Looking at your buddies going, dude, look at that.
Double scrounger is the double scrounger is pretty effective, and this whole technique is somewhat based off of that old little trick we
Yes,
had.
donkey rigging's not necessarily for flukes. Like I was saying earlier, Bill Stiementhal uses his 2.5 swim baits on here. You can use double scroungers. I had a guy when we were doing the float tube tournaments, I had a guy use the storm baits. Little single hook jig baits, little paddle tails. I told him about the donkey rig. He starts going out there, and next thing you know, I turn around, he's got a 7-pounder in his hands. And he's holding that little storm bait. This is just a rig that you can pretty much make up what you want to put on there. Any style of darting bait, even double Senkos. 4-inch and a 5-inch, a 4-inch and a 3-inch. Keep this rig in mind. You don't necessarily have to fish one fluke by itself. You can very well go out there with the bait and do the donkey rig. Double rig these things. And like I was showing you earlier, match the hatch. This is only a few select baits that we have here in the shop. I honestly have a wide variety, colors, sizes, smells, weights.
The actual blade that he has on there is separate than a bladed hook itself. It's an add-on to, pretty much added on to plastic or whatever. It's just a corkscrew, almost like a hitchhiker, attached to a piece of metal right there. Actually, that wire itself to a ball bearing swivel to a blade. It's actually just an add-on attachment.
It's something you can put on a fluke. It's something you can put on any soft plastic bait that you want. The hook goes right through, super easy. The gap's wide enough that you can pop in and out wherever you want. This little guy is cool. And nobody really knows we have these. This is one that I've been looking at it for a while. I picked up a pack a long time ago. Nobody knows we have these. So keep these in mind too. A little bit of extra flash. If you want some vibration with no weight, get the Mike's blades. Mike's Underspin Maker. These little things are cool. And they're only, I think $4.99 for 3 blades. So, I mean, it is pretty cheap, and you can do a bunch with them. Like I was saying, if you guys got any questions, any comments, any problems or anything, or you didn't see a rig, or you didn't see how it was tied or anything like that, give us a call, 951-658-7410. Matt and I are always here. You can always give us a call. We can explain all these baits to you. Let us know how you're fishing, where you're fishing, and we can suit a style for you. Rods, reels, whatever. We pretty much have it here at the shop. Like I said, any of these baits, everything's going to work. Everything's got its certain time. Match the hatch.
Let's take them on over to the soft jerk bait section right there to show them just how many colors, concoctions we can come up with.
We did this in an earlier Periscope to show the wide variety of the baits that we carry and everything else. But, like I'm saying, there's so many different companies that make them. Yamamoto, all their different salted flukes. These guys are in a sink a heck of a lot faster. Lunker Hunt, they make a more of a natural bait profile. Optimum baits, another fluke style. Spotties, absolutely awesome. You can donkey rig inside the harbors and go spotty fishing. That is something that your average saltwater guy is never going to do. Go right into here. I have Lake Fork. I have Kevin Van Dam's Preferred Plastics. These are the blade minnows. I have smaller baits. You got smaller forage, no problem. We're going to jump right into here. This is the Zoom flukes. Like I was saying earlier, Zoom has so many different sizes. From the tiny fluke, super small underspin bait profile. This can also be used as an underspin trailer, like a little cool baits or something like that. Super Fluke Juniors, a little bit bigger profile. Super Flukes, actually no, these are the Flukes. A little bit bigger profile, but more of that narrow profile. Then it goes up to Super Flukes. A little bit bigger body profile, like I showed you with those baby bass earlier. We have Arkansas. I mean, there's purples, there's greens, there's blues, there's shad, there's bluegill, there's smelt, there's whatever colors you guys want. Just find the right color and the right size to match what you're fishing, and you're going to do great. Match the hatch. Absolutely awesome. You come over to the other side, not necessarily saying the Zooms, even more style baits. We have Top Shelf. They make their own style flukes. We have Power Bait. We have Molex. I mean, Bass Assassin, Demiki. So many baits, so many styles, so many profiles. A lot of times it's overwhelming. Like I said, by all means, give us a call. We can cruise through the shop. We can help you out. We can work through some baits, work around. Here's actually some, like I was showing you, the Kitex, Jackal clone fries, stuff like that. More of that realistic profile. There's the Lunker Cities. Donkey rig, not necessarily a fluke, but you can put paddle tails. Wide variety of paddle tails. We can definitely get that.
Way too many opportunities to go broke. It's called fishing.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Where do you think my money goes, man? I may have that boat in the parking lot, but I spent probably double amount the boat's worth.
We're going to tackle shop. We get paid in tackle. This is what we live to do, and this is what we pride ourselves on. Any questions, anytime, give us a call. We'll walk through the shop with you. By all means, cruise down to the shop. We can definitely set you up. Last Chance Bait and Tackle here in Hemet, California. Not too far from Diamond Valley. We're 5 minutes away. You get off the lake, you're on the lake, you need help, give us a call. It's what we're here for. Matt's extremely knowledgeable when it comes to Diamond Valley. Guy knows that lake inside and out. Anything you guys need, give us a call. We appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for watching.
Oh, man.
If you haven't heard, too, Temecula Valley Bass Anglers, they're doing a bunch of tournaments, a bunch of little clubs in the mix and stuff like that. Great group of guys. Elsinore, all those clubs. If you haven't checked one out, please go on and check one out. It's going to make you a better angler. Fishing with more people, fishing with different varieties of stuff, different places, makes you a better angler.
Just want to say, those of you that are in our Southern California area, you may have or may have not heard Last Chance Performance Marine. I've talked about it several times. We actually carry Phoenix, Skeeter, London low boats, do gel coat repair, upholstery,
Yamaha and Mercury certified. So
absolutely.
We can work on your motors, as well as Motor Guide and Minn Kota as well. Yeah, so trolling motor service, any of that stuff, we can hook you up. Yeah. We're not just a bait and tackle. We do have a performance shop, like Matt just said.
As well as our online store, LastChanceTackle.com.
Exactly.
If any of you have any questions regarding what you saw here on this episode, you want to know a tip or trick that you might not get information on over the internet or whatever, give us a shout here at LastChanceTackle.com, 951-658-7410. Anthony and I can get you hooked up.
Thank you guys again for tuning in. Hopefully this little trick helps, and if not, go out and fish it.